and welcome to a series here on the beautiful and wonderful Canary Islands. This is a multi-part series. 7 videos. We're looking at part 2 here, going through the gorgeous climate that we have, the breathtaking topography, and the very unique grape growing techniques in play in the Canary Islands. If you have any questions or any comments, please do pop them in the comments section below this video. Maybe you've been to the Canary Islands, maybe you've enjoyed the climate, maybe some of the beaches or resorts, or you've loved the wines. Always great to hear from you. So let's begin by talking about the climatic conditions in place here in the Canary Islands. Now, it's actually often classed as one of the best climates in the world for those of you who like sun seeking, but actually fairly well balanced conditions. So it's not exceptionally hot nor cold. We have generally the average winter temperature being around 22 degrees Celsius and the average summer temperature being about 28 degrees Celsius. So we overall class this as a subtropical climate with quite low rainfall, somewhere between 350 and 500 millimeters. You've got some quite nice winds that affect the islands, quite famously the trade winds, locally in North Tenerife called alisios, which bring these cooling conditions to the northern part of the island. If you go up the famous mountain called Mount Tiede, which of course sits in the middle of Tenerife, of course temperatures will drop significantly in that instance. The exception to the rule about rainfall, which is identified there, is the island of Lanzarote, which sits atop the Canary Ridge to the east of Tenerife. So we find the rainfall in Lanzarote being an extremely low 150 millimeters per year. Now, I live in the UK, many of you know that, and in 1 month we can get that amount of rainfall. So across the year, that is absolutely crazy, very low amounts. And of course, I have talked about this previously, about what methods they have to go to in order to cultivate the vine. Please do look at the previous video and of course visit the video solely on the D.O. Lanzarote. So we are talking here about something called the trade winds, or as I mentioned, a local wind called the alisios, which brings cool and humid air. Now this is a picture, actually this is going to be a video that I'll show you of the northern part. So it's basically where Orotava Valley meets the Dorte Ikoden Isura area. So that's towards the sort of north part of Tenerife, the luscious green area, as you can see by this picture. Now let's just show you in the vineyard that I was walking in. This is what it's like. Just a
These are old ones, but I can
kind
tell
of
you
breeze that
the
comes through
ones I
this
show you
area,
later.
and it actually is quite chilly. And that is very important in terms of cooling down the viticulture here, the vineyards, and can be quite beneficial in terms of blowing away disease pressure as well. So the trade winds, locally in the northern part of Tenerife, called alisios. The topography then, I've mentioned this a little bit. We have 4 active volcanoes dotted around the islands. So that is what we find in Lanzarote, Mount Tiede on Tenerife, and then we have the Palmariero as well on this western side. So there are millions of years of volcanic activity here, forming kind of what we call the Western Islands and the Eastern Islands, clearly identified by your map there. Now, the Western Islands actually are islands that ascend from the ocean floor, and they go to heights of more than 1,200 meters. So very significant. Now you've got Mount Tiede, which is in the middle of Tenerife, reaching heights of 3,700 meters, so very significant. Now, the eastern islands actually are on what we call a Canary Ridge, which is like an undersea plateau. And these are nowhere near as high. They barely reach around 800 meters. But with all the volcanic activity, of course, this is very much a geology based on volcanic soils, which we discussed in video 1. Vine training system here is absolutely breathtaking and mind-blowing. So this is in the Orotava Valley, the Val de Orotava, which sits in the northern part of Tenerife. And it has this very distinctive, unique, and unusual vine trading system, where the vines the trunks come out of the ground, and then horizontally we have cordons that come out from those, but branch out like forks, and then each of the prong of the fork is then braided. It's twisted and braided round. Cordon trenzado means the braided cordon. So this is quite amazing. It looks like, of course, like twisting rope together, strands of rope, and of course, very similar to like braiding, for example. Now, the shoots are then pruned to around 4 buds. They're tied down by string, and the vine cordon effectively keeps growing. So the very old vines here can have these cordons which stretch up to 20 meters, remembering that you've got multiple cordons coming out from the trunk, almost like a fork. So as a result, these are low density vineyards in terms of what goes into the ground. The trunk, you don't have many. They're often in a row, like you'll see here. So the trunk of all these vines are in this one line down here, but then you've got this wonderful like braid, almost like a haircut, where you have a center parting and it's braided out, which is absolutely breathtaking. They are ungrafted because, of course, phylloxera has not been in this area, and they are replaced by the art of marcotage, which is basically a form of layering. So if a vine dies, then another one will be then layered down into that where it can take root. And therefore you have the same vine being produced again. I'm going to show you a video now just to really put this into perspective for you. I want to show you a video that I took when I was there last, visiting the Suecas de Marquez in the Orotava Valley. And this is actually how long it took me to walk one of these forks, one of these cordons, as you'll see in this one. So let's have a look at this. So actually, it took me, as the video, you can see the numbers at the bottom, 41 seconds to walk from the end of it all the way to the beginning. I think it's the end to the beginning. It might be the other way around, but that's crazy. Bearing in mind, if you're in a normal vineyard with, say, replacement cane, you can take one sort of leap, and that's 1 second, and you've come to the end of the vine. So that is how long these are. It's quite crazy. Yeah, this is from the end. So I am currently walking down this. I'm being quite careful because it's actually quite steep. Right. But you can see that I'm walking down. It's still the same one. Still the same one. And I carry on walking down. This is one in the background now. And I'm going to go to where it eventually comes down.
The entire length of the cordon trenzado.
Here we go. Here we go. Still going down. Still going down.
Yeah.
All the way down to here. And that's it.
That is crazy.
Which is absolutely crazy. So that the length of these. Now, this actually was initially adopted by local farmers, realizing the vigor of the soils with the grape variety Malvasia, making Malmsey for the English market majorly. And they realized they could actually build such huge structures like this in order to produce fairly large, sizable yields. We often get quite fascinated by single vineyard wines. There is actually a possibility of making single vine wines with such amazing structures. It is actually quite crazy indeed. So really, that brings me to the conclusion here, looking at the Canary Islands in terms of its climate, in terms of the topography, and then in terms of the grape growing. Please do join me for the next video where we get into the key white grape variety, which of course is Listan Blanco. So join me for that. If you do have any comments, questions, concerns, of course, please do get in touch comment on this video below. Make sure you click like and subscribe. All those things help. So thank you very much. And if you do find yourself in the UK, come and say hello, maybe for a class, a glass, or a bottle. I've been Jimmy Smith. Ciao for now. Bye-bye.